I live again. Brace yourself, chat. Brace yourself. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Nope, not a better rig. Different program. So I switched from VC Face to a program called Vignon. Vignon. Hang on. There we go. Much better. And as you can tell, it has eye tracking. Not perfect eye tracking, mind you, but much better. Much better eye tracking. I rechecked VC Face. I'm like, I haven't updated VC Face in a long time. Lo and behold, VC Face hasn't been updated in years. Oh. So I go, okay, what's a good alternative to VC Face? And everyone was mentioning Vignon. And it literally had an update 12 days ago. I was like, okay, I'll do it. So the one thing I need to change, I don't know, I'm going to take off the rendering method that I used. I want to show you guys what the model looks like in Blender versus what it looks like here. And for whatever reason, when it converts to VSF, the lighting goes wonky. We get this plasticky look, right? That's not what it looks like in Blender when I use the renderer that I want. So I don't know what the problem is. Benny, I've had an outfit the entire time. I just don't like it. Like you weren't even remotely close. Anyways, yeah. So, VTuber like pace. What do you mean? I guess I don't know. I don't know what you mean. Like I said, I need to try re-rendering it without the thing I'm using, and maybe that'll fix the plasticky look. I think it's more, like again, it's more accurate to the actual face movements. VC Face was very stiff, and again, VC Face didn't track the eyes either. This does, which is really nice. Oh, oh baby, a triple. Oh baby, a triple. And this has better eyebrow tracking. Mm. Mm. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, way better eyebrow tracking. So now when I look at somebody and go, are you sure? Are you really sure? It actually works. And I also go, ah. Ah. All right. And I don't know if it's I'm gonna try it now. YouTube login. Boop. Now it should, assuming it stays, but it should have it to where if like people do super chats or anything like that, it should throw something at me. At least that's what it's put for. You see, like a super chat or a super sticker or a membership should throw something. So, like, bonk. Okay, anyways. Anyways. Yeah. Alright. I keep looking over side, because again, I'm checking on it. I'm checking on making sure chat's working properly and everything. I guess I should keep hold of if YouTube's working. It is. Okay, good. It's still working. I tried to connect it before, but it seems that you do need to actually have the signal going before it will stay connected to YouTube, which is fair enough. Oh, that's right. I need to fix my my Stream Ninja because you can't get the emotes. For whatever reason, the emotes are turned off, and I don't know why. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Yeah. Align bottom and dark mode, and no time. Strip HTML. 2 lines. Well, I want you to show the emotes. No. Wait. Oh, this has Ko-Fi integration? Stream Ninja does? Ooh, hold on. Oh, here to strip HTML/images from messages and donations. Oh, it does both. Oh. That's tragic. Okay, hang on. If I get rid of that. Yeah. Alright, hang on a second, chat. Hang on. We're fixing it live. Docs. Stream Ninja. Custom browser docs. You change to this. Apply. Okay, so now we come in here. I'm going to try an emote, and hopefully it should work. Yeah, it works. Okay. All right, how do you get out of the emote mode? Oh, there we go. Okay. Cool. Okay. All right. Enough of that. Huh, it's not appearing on the... Oh, I know why it's not appearing on the chat now. Hold up. I gotta fix the and no HTML thing on the chat itself. Let's fix that now. Get rid of this. Okay. Now try it. Prosecutor Valentine, sending it again. Oh my god, here, fix it on the dock. There you go. Perfect. Perfection. Yes. Yes, I fixed it on the dock, but I didn't fix it on the chat itself. Okay, cool. Cool. Right. Again, when it was strip HTML, it was just specifically for people like sending. It was supposed to be just for HTML messages, but no. Apparently, it's also for emotes. I was like, why would you combine those? Why would you combine those? That's frustrating. That's very frustrating. Okay. All right. So like I said, we're going to do chapter 21 and 22 today. I am working my way through chapter 23 already. So should be into chapter 24 pretty soon. Probably not by the end of the day, but you know, we'll be in there pretty soon. We're getting near the end of the book. Near the end of the book, everybody. Not much left to go. Okay. The only thing we'll have to test with Vignon now is how resource intensive it will be. Like, we just gotta see how much of a resource hog it is, because VC Face was a pretty chunky resource hog. I'm hoping Vignon is optimized enough not to have that much of an issue, if that makes sense. So, all right. Chapter 21, Crash Course. The pair of them walked out of the diner with a full belly and several hours from when they had first stepped inside. While the rest of the patrons were nervous, they all came around and shared in good cheer and conversations, especially once curiosity struck with Samantha. Since all of the others present were wolves, they knew their part of the voir dire. But the Revoran had their own idiosyncrasies, and this was their chance to ask about some of them. She couldn't tell them much, but every little tidbit was amusing, especially when she mentioned the idea of the shinying. The name itself a seeming joke, but very real temptation for them. Just as a pause, each of the voir dire has, that besides the Wolverine, have a sin they're closer towards, and the Revoran are closer towards avarice. They steal shiny things. They can't help it. The Barovin are much more sloth-like. The Penioxen are the prideful ones. Volpavin are a bit envious. So they have their sins that they're more associated with, and we're gonna see that when the bridge tries to form, and one of the first demons that tries to run across the bridge is a Revoran. One that's been horribly disfigured and everything like that, because obviously it's a demonic entity now. It's not a normal Revoran. Alright. Hello, Trash Man. The Trash Man does what the Trash Man can. It was only as the lunch rush began and they could no longer speak so openly that the pair decided to disembark. Thus the mood should have remained jovial, but William was doing his best to hold on to something deep within him. There was a sensation where it felt as if a bone within his body moved of its own accord, and this brought a panic that he was quick to play off. Now he just wanted to make sure Samantha was all right, unless he looked at her. I hope you had a lovely breakfast. I'm glad I could share it with you. His mood made her stop walking. His words made her stop walking for a time as she pulled lightly at his hand. I did, but you doing all right? He wasn't sure how she could tell, but she stepped closer and looked into his eyes as he tried to look away. William then offered a smile, but it was a weak thing. I'm just feeling anxious. He stopped himself as he looked at her, and she frowned some as she placed a hand on his chest. Hi, trash man. The trash man does what the trash man can. Trashy, trashy, trash man can. It wouldn't be so bad if they weren't so screechy. You know what I mean? Screechy, screechy. Alright. William, you don't need to hide anything from me. I know, love, but I'm just worried. I feel like I'm literally twisting inside. This made her lean in against him and close her eyes. Does it hurt? He shook his head and gently squeezed her. When did it happen? Right as we were walking out of the diner. Before we went on the stairs. I felt a strange jerk inside my body and the voice. He looked at her and she looked at him with a new fear. I didn't tell you about it, but I had told them. Apparently it's the other half of me. Develops when you resist for a long time and are nearing the release. I see. And does it want you to do something, or? William shook his head. It more just offers commentary from what it can see and feel. But it is tired of being locked away. William let his words drift away as he rubbed her back and then sighed. Well, we have a lot to do today. Yeah. Samantha nodded her head and smiled at him before she got her tiptoes and offered him a kiss. She didn't know it, but that kiss was like a wonderful dip in aloe as he felt far calmer. Will you drop me off at my place? I can send off the files I have from there. You got the directions to my new house, right? She slapped his side playfully and started walking towards his car once more. I have a decent memory, thank you very much. We wrote it down, too, so... She waved the yellow note around and stuck her tongue out. This brought a hearty chuckle from William, who hastened to keep up with her. Besides, the sooner I send off the files, the sooner we can get orders from the capital. The commander's pet confronted me, and... William's heart suddenly raced, and he grabbed her wrist. Far harder than he wanted to, as she let out a surprised grunt and turned to look at him. I will kill them both. He then let go of her wrist in shame and lowered his gaze. That voice now sounded as if it was deep in his throat, reverberating out. I'm sorry. I just thought he hurt you or touched you, and I just... Samantha rubbed her wrists and at first shivered, but then realized the weight that was on his shoulders. Special Agent William Lowell. His full rank and name made him look up into her eyes, as he had to concede to himself. You don't need to be strong for my sake. I'll be there for you. I do admit a bit of a bad time to jump into a relationship with everything going topsy-turvy, but I love you, and I know you love me. Still, I'm sorry. I felt myself slip there. She simply walked up and placed another kiss on his lips, one he gladly returned as the sadness and welling wrathful desire started to subside. If he was thinking more clearly, he would have just called out to her. I made a mistake. I just wanted to hold on and not let go. Was this the wolfish side of him? Far more intense and clingy? Apology accepted, mister. Now, drop me by my place. I'll get the data sent off and then touch base with the folks and head out to your place. Your only job today is to relax, right? Maybe get in touch with Jonathan and Michael. See if they can offer some sage wisdom. William offered her a warm smile and nodded his head. The pair climbed into his car and got themselves settled before William checked his mirrors. It was then he froze and took a deep breath, one Samantha noted, but he quickly snapped out of it. She was about to ask what was wrong, but he offered a wave of his hand and a smile. It's nothing. We have a lot to do. No sense in delaying things. Samantha looked at him and raised a brow. You aren't hiding something, are you? I don't want to trouble you with this now. We can talk when we meet back up at the house. Is that fair? Samantha frowned a bit, but then nodded her head. William was being stubborn, but she knew he was right as well. They couldn't just sit here and dwell on things while stuff needed doing. This he was grateful for, as her understanding allowed him another glance in the mirror, where he saw it standing there. Across the parking lot and in an alley was the shadow of a human, but one that was cast by nothing, and that he swore he could recognize even from the great distance. Was it a figment of his imaginings, or was his awakening now causing a ripple effect and strange glitches on this side of the so-called mirror? Whatever the case may be, there was nothing he could do now, and would need to talk with Jonathan and Michael. Jennifer and Cindy sat outside on one of the pallets, watching from behind a fence as the wolves wandered around the sanctuary, all while they shared a small little snack together. So, they're all one family here? Her question was asked as she saw the biggest wolf chasing some of the pups before he knocked them down. He then turned and ran as the pups rounded back and began chasing him in turn before he fell over when one nipped at his legs and tail. This cycle repeated itself over and over again while she watched curiously. Correct. Though we do introduce new wolves very slowly. We want to make the process as natural as possible. So we test new pups and treat them like dispersal wolves. We can't have a single isolated family unit forever. Genetic diversity would collapse. Out in the wild itself, when a wolf comes of age, they can grow restless and will break away from their pack, their family, for a time to go look for a mate. From here, they either integrate into the new pack, or bring the mate back to their old family, or they form an entire new pack alongside their mate. What about lone wolves? Sydney let out a bit of a laugh before she smiled. They do exist, but that is very rare. What most people think of as lone wolves are just disperser wolves looking for a mate. It's a temporary state before things carry on into a pack. True lone wolves don't last long because they have no one to rely on, so once they get injured, even once, well, that usually spells the death spiral for them. Probably the toughest part to deal with, honestly. Cindy lets out a long sigh before she smiled a bit to cheer herself back up. Wolves are a lot like us. And I don't mean because, She looked about and leaned over before continuing in a soft whisper. The wolf blood thing. She then straightened up her posture and carried on. But they are social creatures like us. They like to do teamwork, cooperation, and raise families. That game they're playing now is part of bonding, but it is also teaching the pups how to hunt. You see, the alpha is only falling when they strike at his legs. He then turns and chases to build up their stamina. What about introverts and extroverts? As she asked the question, the alpha finally came to a trundling halt, and though the pups all now nipped at his legs, he didn't fall over. Instead, the big male wolf settled in and let the pups start climbing all over him while he began to relax, clearly having tuckered himself out from the game. That still happens. Each of us has a different way to socialize, and what we gain from it. An introvert still wants some companionship, just on their terms. Same goes with an extrovert, right? Wolves are the same. You can watch them form their personality as they grow, be it outgoing, insular, forceful, sneaky, what have you. As if to emphasize her point, she once again noted the alpha currently resting and lightly shooing the pups away from himself. Take Atka there, for example. He's the family head of this sanctuary. He's more reserved and doesn't howl as much, or go out of his way to socialize. But when he does howl, the pack listens and gathers. He still does play, as you saw him with the pups there, but now he's kind of done and wants his personal time. This was shown when one of the pups tried to get in his face, so Atka simply moved his front leg and paw to push the pup down into the grass. The pup squirmed while pinned, but eventually relaxed and just laid there enjoying the spot, which allowed the older wolf to do the same. Hey, Cindy. Jennifer looked from the pups and then at Cindy before bowing her head. I wanted to say sorry for, making the thing this morning awkward. The woman beside her sighed a bit and then nodded her own head. Let's get rid of the rest of it, and nodded. We all feel a similar way, Jen. Isn't that we like extract? But if they're going to throw their money away to us, then we may as well use it to help what matters to us. People already have a tough time understanding why these sanctuaries exist. So many think of wolves as just big dogs and don't realize they're wild creatures. And you get the opposite thinking from the clan holds and refugees, and... Her voice trailed off and Jennifer nodded her head. I get it. I mean, before I didn't understand fully. Hell, I was just going to wander the woods with some mace and a taser. Cindy turned and grabbed Jennifer's hand. I'm glad you didn't. That's another misconception people have. The Rangers work hard, but monsters can still come into existence. This forest is pretty safe, but it will never be 100%. It's been a few years, but remember some hikers did get killed by a new nest forming. Jennifer looked at her and felt her eyes go wide as she hadn't actually realized that was the case. What? Cindy nodded her head rapidly. I mean, to be fair, it was a freak occurrence. Like I said, it's been years. But you should at least be prepared just in case. She then leaned in and whispered now. Not to mention, cultists, rogue spirits, hell, even the wildlife here could suffer an outbreak of rabies or just be desperate for food. I'm starting to realize my brother was way smarter than I gave him credit for. This made Cindy laugh a bit before she offered a wicked smile. Oh, maybe we should ask him to look into this extract business then. This made Jennifer turn to look before the woman waved a hand to preempt her question. We don't exactly know why they donate to us, and so many other sanctuaries now. They don't publicize it, nor make a grand deal out of it. Because they bring cash, you could outright just keep their name off the donation books. Again, we won't, because that's unethical, but you could. There is no safety net for them. I'm not sure my brother could solve that mystery. But I do have a question you could answer. Jennifer looked around and was satisfied they were all alone. What's it like to be, the way you are? You mean the wolf blood thing? Jennifer nodded her head and Cindy leaned back to rest on her hands. Well, not too much. We don't get sick as easily. We're a little stronger and faster. I mean, splitting hairs, but on average, mind you. The big ones could tell who we are, and the wolves themselves seem more relaxed around us. Weary still, as any would be when a new person just comes around, right? But it's like they can sense it too. It wasn't what she expected to hear, but she wasn't exactly surprised about the information either. So why was she disappointed? Did she want something more from this? Her frown suggested she did, and the woman picked up on that. You okay? Yeah, I don't know, I guess I expected more, maybe a way to... Mikey said you wanted to, what was it? Join Team Wolf or something like that? Jennifer blushed and Cindy gave her a pat on the back as she chuckled. It's okay, I get it. Like, I feel the same about them, but I got there from a totally different route. Besides, there's always a chance one of us will awaken. One of my old friends, her name is Lancetta, moved here from the GDI. She awakened one day, though she never talked about that incident much. We still keep in touch, but she's often busy training or performing duties for the tribe. But when she has free time, we hang out sometimes. So all those with the blood of the wolf can become the big wolves? The woman nodded her head. Yep, though I need to stress the word can in there, not will. There were some internal studies to try and map out any correlation. After all, if they could figure out how wolf blood awakens, then maybe they could have more of us do so. I'm not saying Emerald Grove is little. We have about 35 fully awakened. Oh, nope, it's not 35. It should be 45. Whoopsie. We have about 45 fully awakened. But the vast majority of the tribe are just like me. Best we can figure from all the testing is that it's completely random. It said one of the dragon gods was asked about it and that every one of us had a 20 to 30% chance to awaken. You think there would be way more Wolverine if that was the case. Hell, only about 5% of our tribe are. Sheesh. I don't know if I could handle not... Well, I suppose I am a freak. Cindy offered a smile, but Jennifer scowled at her and gave a soft huff. Relax. As I said before, I understand your feelings. I just got there from a different road. When I truly saw them in their true forms, there was a fear, of course. They are big and intimidating, for good reason, mind you, with the threats they face. But there was an awe and mystique to them as well. Hope one day one of them will choose me to be by their side. To that end, I put in extra effort, not just here at the sanctuary, but in my studies, skills, and helping around the Aether. Put in effort, huh? Jennifer suddenly rubbed her chin and let out a soft hum. I suppose I should do so as well. You know what? I will. I'm going to help Michael and the others in their investigation more. I didn't mean that. Don't you think the... Jennifer started to stand up and placed her hands on her hips. I think it's what I feel is most right. I'll lend them a hand. Michael made mention the bastard that tried to take me and then tried to gut me wanted documents to that hotel. Well, I'll go there and investigate. Cindy raised a brow and started to stand up as well. Are you sure you should? Jennifer shook her head with confidence. Nope, that's not going to stop me. Samantha was hastily throwing some clothes in a suitcase, deciding it prudent to not be where the NDA could normally find her once the files hit the appropriate networks. She had set up several contact points at the NDA in other states and jurisdictions, trying to spread the work out and let the rot be seen by as many eyes as they could. There was no way of knowing if Commander Thetis or Agent Cooper had deeper ties to the other sectors, thus spreading the cast wide was better. Yet while the connection was being made to properly encrypt and decrypt, she had time to really think through what mattered most to her. This was a harder call for her than she expected, as she had to weigh those intangible ties that she felt to each object. Sentimental value was nice, more than she realized given her connection to the spirit world, but she needed to be pragmatic here. Commander Thetis was unlikely to take the attempt at revealing his dirty laundry, even if he were tangentially connected. Well, and thus hard choices needed to be made. Such choices were quickly dashed when she heard a noise come from the laptop. Coming sounds better. Coming from the laptop she had used, and thus brought her attention back into the room to check it. The files themselves had finished sending, which was fantastic news. Then the other shoe dropped as she realized to her horror, 2 of the posts she had sent it out to gave a notice they were sending it to her region, assuming it had been a clerical error. Why? Why are we so dumb? The exclamation came out with a start, but at least the other posts were properly sending it to their hubs to be given to command personnel. This thankfully included the capital, which already flagged the documentation as urgent. Thus it would receive expedited treatment through the system. Now was the time for haste. Depending how quickly those files went back, and if the commander or his left ass cheek were paying attention. If they were, she just outed herself as a whistleblower and needed to hide out as soon as possible. Even an idiot could trace it back to this laptop and find the location the information was sent from. Thus was the contradiction of the NDA itself. Supremely competent, and yet they so fetishized the idea of obfuscation that clerical errors were common to be considered expected. Thus others didn't even bat an eye when it happened. Such was the price of doing business. What a truly rotten motto it was, and one that needed to change. Quickly she filled a second suitcase with the items she had been desperately wrestling their worth with as she went to the laptop. One last quick check and she saw the files transfers were all concluded, and now it was time to meet back up with William. She powered down the computer and tossed it inside its case before slinging the strap over her shoulder and marching out the front door with suitcases in hand. Into the car each item went, her entire life condensed to 2 suitcases and a laptop, with the realization that until Commander Thetis was dealt with, there was no turning back now. The funniest part was that her mind immediately turned to William and made a solemn vow that if this was the price to pay, it was a bargain. Thus she didn't even bother locking the front door as she got into the car and drove away from old familiar feelings into the wild, tempestuous unknown of the future. The only uncertainty she now faced was if she could risk traveling directly to the man she loved, or head out of town and loop back around the long way. That uncertainty would sit with her as she looked at the fuel gauge, which dictated her opening course of action. The time slowly ticked away into the afternoon as the world began to set its stage for the preamble and opening ceremony to a new era. The drive to that gas station would be uneventful, but as the 2 vehicles pulled out to follow her, the universe and its divine spectators was assured that what came after would be anything but. Sol was beginning his descent across the world as Saren circled its guiding light, life and warmth giver within the astral seas. His arcing light cast such impressive shadows across the landscape, and none bore those shadows more brilliantly now than a lumberyard that held a truly great secret. Approaching the currently workerless but heavily populated lumberyard was 5 vehicles, 3 being vans while the other 2 were extended cab trucks. Jonathan wasn't going into this without preparation, as Glassden was a tribe on the larger end of the scale, and with heavy resources at its disposal. Thus every member of the 15 that now stepped out of the vehicles was packing as much firepower as they could muster, much of which was unseen to those without spirit knowledge. What would await them was a complete unknown, with the alleged members of Everglade giving them little time for recon, likely their intention from the start. So they had no choice but to play it by ear. In that regard, Jonathan had ensured his tribe was properly staggered, keeping half the Rogenwalder council at the hotel and half now coming alongside him. David, I want you by my side for this. Let me know the moment falsity is presented. The Damari gave a nod of his head while Jonathan looked over the perimeter fencing that marked the boundary of the yard. Tina, you and Ethan are to remain out here. If things go sideways, I want you to smash through the fence to give us an easy exit. The two wrecker both looked at each other and nodded their heads as they lingered back by the vehicles, the pair of them wielding the short-barrel Venator Commando and its undermounted 20mm grenade launcher. Oh, sorry. The sentence works. I fucked up the tone on it. The pair of them wielding the short-barreled Venator Commando and its undermounted 20mm grenade launcher would be the cavalry. The remaining 12 accompanied Jonathan as they passed the security checkpoint. The remaining 12. The remaining 13. What the fuck? The remaining 13 accompanied... Or, no, 12. Accompanied Jonathan. Yep. It don't need to be big to be worth it, right? 20mm is good enough. Especially because, remember, they have a shorty. They're not using a full-sized rifle. They're using a commando. So think of it as a super shorty. Extendable stock, really short barrel. Like this thing is built to rip, not for long range engagements. The remaining 12 accompanied Jonathan as they passed the security checkpoint, one that was wide open for their arrival and yet still manned. Mr. Oldfither couldn't decide if this was an intimidation tactic, or if Everglade was that at ease and confident in their superiority in this situation. Just to be sure, as they passed the guards, a few obvious sniffs were given, and this set the alarm bells off. Both guards flanking either side of Jonathan and his entourage had the smell of the voir dire on them. One was assuredly a wolf, and was the largest in size. The other smelled of the bear, and this was an issue, for Barovin were far greater healers than even the Wolverine Guthi. The fact that both men bore a matching uniform with the logo of Everglade on the breast and ISF beneath was a worrying sign about the dispute to come. This was further compounded when not only were security ambivalent to the fact Glassden was well armed, but the receiving party was as well. There in the middle of the yard was a table that had clearly been pulled from a workshop nearby, with a chair occupied by a man whose sheer weight of authority was obvious in the 8 others that stood beside him. Opposite the cornerstone of this monolithic threat sat another chair, offered as if a seat at the slaughterhouse, given the movement across the lumber yard. Those shadows lurking to the flanks were well armed, and with faces that bore the assured glare of people comfortable with violence and confident in their chances in the thick of it. The approach allowed them all a chance to size each other up, and the soft breeze lent the obvious to all who might have missed the guards before. Most of those standing before them were kin, with at least one of them a Crodoxan, a were-crocodile and known for their purification capabilities. More evidence of other voir dire in alignment with what he can only assume the truth of Everglade was. Not just a conglomerate, but a full-on Aether. Last but not least, Jonathan realized that each of the uniformed guards, for what else could they be, wore a combat pack on their backs. "Please have a seat." The words were delivered cordially, but lacking warmth, as the man, Jeremiah Rossman himself, leaned forward, resting his mouth on his hands. Those hands were currently held to the top of a cane that drew Jonathan's eye in worry before he slowly stepped around the chair and sat down. The lumberyard itself was typical of such operations. Piles of carefully sorted wood in various grades now covered in tarp as the workday ended. Between them was a network of mud roads acting as the veins of the operation, carrying the flow of materials from each station within the yard as they were needed. The cells to funnel those raw resources sat like giant statues observing the meeting, the paint having flaked away from years of sun damage and the elements. "Well, it seems you do know about us. I can take a guess on how you discovered the truth, given what you all are, too." This made the man that gave off the scent of a reptile suddenly chuckle, But beyond the sound and smirk, he remained stoically in place. I must confess I'm rather put off by the name of you and yours. There was a small pause as Jeremiah was about to continue, but Jonathan stepped into the gap. Well, appearances are just that. And you should be. It was a honey trap, after all. My Ater are one of the most proficient at dealing with our wayward kin. This made Jeremiah furrow his brow and tap his fingers along the top of the cane. Before he could speak in counter volley, Mr. Oldfither continued. Though lately our forest kin got one we were keeping an eye on. One that your friends within the NDA hired and caused such havoc. The information jolted Jeremiah, who leaned back from the cane as his face betrayed the sudden processing of such information. What are you talking about? We have no deal. Jonathan once again cut the man off, deciding that he needed to steer the conversation as he looked at all those gathered around. You think we're stupid because we aren't of international note? This brought a grumble from Mr. Rossman, who tapped his fingers along the cane more. We have information seekers and ways to uncover it. Ah, the sanctuary, wasn't it? This now caught the Alderskald off guard, as Jeremiah had put together the pieces of when such information could have leaked. Perhaps I was too lenient on that man. I take it that the staff that overheard his conversation was one of yours? No, but I have often worked hard to rebuild a bridge between the two dominant schools of thought for our kind. In appreciation for my efforts, the forestkin bequeathed that knowledge unto us. This made Jeremiah lean forward and sigh as he looked directly into Jonathan's eyes. What the NDA did was in poor taste, but take the intended hint that I'm serious in my desire to have that resort. Jonathan waved a hand as if to dismiss the man, still trying to keep up some offensive and not allow him to dominate the conversation. Then you should have attended the auction and won it fair and square. Strangely, Jonathan had to admit this situation was truly surreal, for he had often expressed admiration for Everglade and its methodology of business in the past. To be sat here across the man himself, not to mention knowing he was an Einwalder just as he, and was now a genuine grave threat, was giving a nervousness he hadn't expected. The idiot son of the mayor closed the deal at the insistence of the Baron, or so he professed as his excuse. My representatives were shut out of the auction itself while we were en route. This made Jonathan tilt his head and raise a brow. That doesn't make sense. Jeremiah was about to speak, but the Einwalder of the Glass Den raised a hand for a moment's pause. The auction was known about for months in advance, so you would have had plenty of time to arrive. Unless you weren't aware of the value until just... I will give you 3 times what you paid the auction for the resort, which would also cover any renovations you have made since. Jonathan didn't respond, but slowly he looked at the man's cane and then up into his eyes again. Jeremiah's face twitched to betray an awareness of what might be said next. You only recently found out, so you know why I wouldn't give you the resort for 100 times what I paid already. Mr. Rossman's face contorted and a growl escaped as he stamped the cane down against the ground. Do not try to speak in some noble show of defiance. Be reasonable in the price. No, I know exactly what is in that hotel. This made the man back off for a moment and lean back in his chair, all ready for the words he feared the most. Or should I say, beneath it. Jeremiah rose from the chair and gave a more forceful manner, the cane held in his hands as he smacked it against one of his palms. It was clear that this upstart porn peddler and would-be chieftain had found the ultimate prize, and this rankled him immensely. It was with this that Mr. Rossman eventually squeezed the cane and took a deep breath before exhaling to regain his composure. He then turned back towards Jonathan, who was beginning to rise from his own seat. I want to do this the easy way. No bloodshed, no gnashing of teeth and hurt feelings, no grudges or vendettas. Everglade has been searching for over 100 years. Get in line. Jonathan's voice cut into him and grumbled some. Sorry, get in line, pup. I forgot the pup part. I can't believe I forgot the pup part. Let me try that again. We'll blame that on the throat demons. Made me skip ahead. Get in line, pup. Jonathan's voice cut into him and he grumbled some. Pup. You speak like some young'un, so let this gray muzzle educate you. I've been searching for over 150, so don't speak to me of time earning the right of it. It is clear the pair of them weren't going to budge, and thus Jeremiah took another deep breath and looked over to the woman standing to his right. Give the signal to begin. The woman nodded her head as she turned, keying her headset, and Jonathan was about to speak when Jeremiah tossed his cane towards him. The way the conversation was going, it was clear that some kind of fight was coming. Thus Jonathan had let the tattoo on his back burn as his perceptual processing went into overdrive. Already his hand was coming up to deflect the thrown cane, but he also noticed that as Jeremiah blinked, his eyes changed hue dramatically into purple haze. His opponent, the Jeremiah Rossman, exposed now for the truth of who the greatest conglomerate had at the helm, was a Domari with the eyes of truth. The second thing his perceptions noted, besides all those beside the man starting to shift for the fight, was that the cane moved. Not on its arc through the air, but the end opened and two long fangs were suddenly exposed. This creature was a thing of suffering, a spirit of the twisting agonies of venom implanted into a cane made of wilding harvested wood, turned into a spiritual fetish. Even as a wolverine, if it were to strike true and bite down, the pain which would course through his body would be unimaginable, and thus likely to throw off his combat awareness. Thus, instead of slapping it away with his hand, he mimicked the shape of a duckbill and opened his fingers. Jeremiah, though, saw the truth of it, for such was the potency of the gift he suffered for, as payment was to reveal all. Around Jonathan's hand formed the spiritual jaws of a great dragon, the maw of the void, a truly terrible tattooed fetish, likely on both arms, that gave a nasty surprise. When Reaper Song snapped his fingers together in pantomime of a mouth closing, the jaws snapped shut and the cane serpent was snapped in half before that which was in the jaws was turned to pulp. Still, it had delayed the man's shift, thus giving Jeremiah time to release his true self as a strange shimmer came around him. Reaper Song's quick thinking had prevented his suffering, but he noticed the shimmer around Jeremiah and realized the Damari's next trick, bypassing the time it takes to shift and trade for the pain lingering after. In the blink of an eye, the owner of Everglade was gone, and an 8.5-foot wolverine stood in his wake, with black-rooted fur leading to dark brown ends, with those purple eyes focused squarely on him. I'm going to say and those purple eyes. He had tried to anticipate the unknown, but there were so many variables at play. He just had to hope his precautions would turn out for the better. Jeremiah was about to press his advantage as his compatriots shifted, and the order was given to begin the raid against the resort. Yet this self-proclaimed grey muzzle surprised him, first with the Maw of the Void, and then as he suddenly kicked the table up, obscuring his view. While the eyes of the truth revealed the exacting nature of all, it couldn't see through things. Thus Jeremiah wisely backed off as the Elder Skald's axe sliced through his forward path. This also gave Jonathan time to start shifting. Unlike the abrupt pace of Jeremiah, who pushed through the change in a flash, everyone else instead felt the pulsations of the world around them, the rhythmic thrum of the ground moving so subtly, the wind blowing through the trees and that cool air brushing across them as if a gentle caress. Sarin itself filled them with energy. The grasses grew just as the fur did along each of them. The moisture slaked the scales of the cordoxen. The waning light of Sol shined upon each of them, and even as the sound of gunfire erupted and the discharge of residue filled the air, the trees bent to supplication through the aid of the turbulent winds. Yet Jeremiah's advantage was not lost from a single axe swing, as he was fully shifted. His ability to function, even under the agonizing pain, would have been made apparent if Glassden's own Domari could see the truth of it. The great centipede coiled about his body, with terrible jaws dug into the back of his skull, stabilizing his mental faculties even as his nerves screamed for the reprieve of death. Thus he charged forward, knocking aside Jonathan's axe as the sword of judgment formed within his hand, only to strike at air as a wind spirit came from Reaper Song's exhale, knocking Jeremiah back and recoiling Jonathan clear of the blade. Jonathan's body was cracking and twisting as he nearly stumbled with the shift of his leg from plantigrade to digitigrade, but he had dodged the strike. Jeremiah was not thwarted as he instead rolled his wrist to carry the momentum of the missed swing into another. The perception boost allowed him to spot the attack coming and drive the head of the axe against the flat to deflect the blade. This is also when the perception in Reaper Song's eyes realized something else. Every single one of the combat packs had melted away with the gift of Dragonkind and its transformative storage. Instead, all of them had bars of metal running along their arms and legs. He hadn't divined what they were for until Mouse became the unfortunate test of it, with the Guthi summoning the spirit of lightning to him. Shihan clicked his claws together as his body was finishing its adjustment to the truth of him, and the lightning ander heeded the gift given. The young Guthi, having fought hard to earn this gift, snapped his fingers and pointed at the security chief of Everglade, causing the bolt of the clear sky to strike her. To the horror of Glassden, she simply smiled as the metal along her arms channeled it away as if they were a conductive cage, and she soon raised her right hand up in the pantomime of a gun. "Bang!" she said as her thumb twisted to mimic the hammer fall, and the bolt of lightning that had been meant for her suddenly leapt from her claw tips and into Mouse's chest, casting Shihan to the ground with a whimper. Lester watched as his apprentice Guthi was hit and sent the moon crescent sickle flying towards the female Wolverine as he moved to Shihan and channeled the spirit's caress, giving some healing to close the smoldering wound. The chaos all around was devolving into a true brawl, with both sides attempting... Sorry. I forgot. Today's Wednesday. I don't know how I forgot, because we're reading the book right now. I forgot today was Wednesday. The emergency siren test just kicked on. Hello. This is merely a test. Were this an actual emergency, verbal instructions would follow. Alright. The chaos all around was devolving into a true brawl, with both sides attempting to pick away at one another. These were the opening tests of secrets, learning the ins and outs of their opponent's fighting capabilities, and trying not to get dragged in and swarmed. This was the methodology of wolves fighting, but there were two wild cards in this fight. That being the other two Vordir, the Barovan at the gate, who was towering at 10.5 feet in height. Dwarved the pair of Wrecker fighting him, which left them out of assisting the main group. This is when the were-crocodile made his move, with his moss green, dark brown, and exceptionally muscled hide barreling forward. The Cordoxan, who stood at 8 feet, slammed into one of Glassden's wreckers as the tattoos along his throat flashed, and he bit through the full moon's shield and caught the wolf's hand. This was rebuked when Victor jumped up from the shadows and drove the concealed moon daggers into his neck and caused him to wrench free his jaws, only to dive away when the were-crocodile's speed nearly snatched him with a hand, but instead caught the space he had just been. A major surprise for those unfamiliar with the explosive speed and ferocity of crocodilians compared to their lumbering alligator kin. David had brought his sword across the face of one ISF Hjalderskald after grabbing the metal along his arm to use as a fulcrum to pull him off balance. Yet the Hjalderskald only winced with the pain and pulled back harder, drawing David in and allowing him to slash across the Damari's face. I'm going to change some stuff here. Instead of that, I'm going to rake, allowing him to rake across the Damari's face with his claws. This is when he let free his leverage, and both parties retreated back as their wounds stitched together, only having gained superficially against one another. No one was trying to push too deeply, for getting surrounded and mobbed would tip the scales further. Even so, it was clear Everglade had the advantage. Even more so when they kept pulling out strange bits of technology, further boosting their already formidable strength from their spiritual gift. Jonathan and Jeremiah came to blows as near complete opposites, with the former looking every bit the stereotypical tribal wolf, while the latter was covered in advanced gear. Both had obviously extensively gathered resources from the other side of the mirror, yet both their refinement into spiritual tools took vastly different approaches. Jonathan adorned in beadwork, tattoos, and braids, while Jeremiah had a belt of gear with various gadgets, one of which he now withdrew. It was shaped like a card and was an intricate circuit board that soon erased itself before arcs of electrical energy leapt from one stalk of fur to another, and even crackled along the blade of Mani's gifted weapon. This would make it so defending with direct contact would shock the recipient each time, and even linger if contact was not broken. This is when the battle line had really been drawn as the skirmish at the front gate heated up. Each member retreated slightly to reassess the fight and how best to deal with this life or death struggle. At the same time, across the yard came dozens of more people, carrying heavy shields lined with a strange shimmering metal that was clearly infused with Vordir rites. Each and every one of them carried by a full sulfur and combat gear designed specifically for them. Jonathan scanned across the combatants and his own before he raised a hand, forming the moonlit axe, and called out, "In the name of Meraxus, Glassden, none of these jackals leave alive." Jeremiah was incensed at the declaration, but also that his quick advantage had been lost. As he looked over the black-furred, with white dusting, werewolf in front of him, he saw the dozens of spirits now starting to form. It was then his eyes went wide as the mouth opened, and he could see the thousands and thousands of shadows starting to crawl out as the dirge began. This was only halted when a thunderous boom, louder than they had heard, erupted and a beam of light cut straight between both battle lines. It was such an effective interruption that it even stumbled Jonathan, who was bracing himself to use the dirge once again to do battle. With the dirge once again to do battle against dire enemies. It was not meant to be, though. It was not meant to be, though, as a voice echoed out across the yard and drew the focus of everyone towards the machine shop, where an immense... Whoops, not a machine shop, the saw shed, where an immense wolf was now walking. Like children, you squabble over the labors of the divine. All of those present, even the false over themselves, dropped to at least one knee, with the latter going on both and placing their heads to the ground. The Great Spirit, the Makander of Everglade, Ithander, had come out of his resting place. Along the highway that traced the edge of the Golgoran raced a small convoy made of 3 vehicles, carrying express delivery, earmarked directly for Briar's Glade. This delivery represented the true weight that Everglade could bring to bear. Oops, I did represented it here again. Hold on. This delivery represented the true weight that Everglade could bring to bear, shown in all 3 vehicles in olive drab. The first and third vehicle were vans, packed with VIP services and personnel. 6 in the back of each, with the driver and passenger bringing the total to 8. Every last one of them loaded down with enough equipment to be considered a military unit, with the most extreme sitting in the middle of the convoy. That central pillar of Everglade's wrath was outwardly in appearance an armored car used by Banks. That central pillar of Everglade's wrath was outwardly in appearance an armored car used by Banks. Yet this was just a facade. Ironic in that this farce was being used against Glassden, as the vehicle was but a shell and used the reinforced frame and shocks for the cargo within. A thin veil to shield the secret within. Let's get rid of the second within. Let's do inside. A thin veil to shield the secret inside. A beast of war manufactured to the pinnacle of the conglomerate's mastery and companies under the umbrella. Thus sat a black wolf in full Wolverine form, decked out from head to toe in armor, with ceramic and steel hybrid plates and custom-made carriers to give absurd survivability. Couple this with the sheer size of the wrecker wearing it, and his own durability as the full moon, living siege engine of the Wolverine race, and it was obvious the threat he represented. The visage of the wrecker sat in the back of that armored car, was a full helmet and mask integrated with a heads-up display, and filtering to keep both intense light and aerosol from affecting him. To his left was a massive towering backpack, filled to the brim with the ordnance he would soon rain down on the adversaries of his tribe, while to his right sat the method of its delivery. He found himself keeping a hand on either, the left wrapped within the strap he would need to mount the pack on his back, and the right on the barrel of the weapons system. His breathing was steady, but distorted in the filtered mask as he rocked gently from the subtle curves of the freeway, with only a yellow light to keep him company. Soon enough, the comm system came on as the pack leader was informed of their status. Heads up, gentlemen. We got the green light. We're still a couple minutes out. Control is verified we're up against a rival tribe. Therefore, our operational parameters have shifted. We push until contact is made, and Team 2 will go full out, while covered until Team 1 can join them. Hendricks, you'll no longer be in reserve. Push up with the gun team and lay waste. Copy, Hendricks? The massive wrecker nodded his head and squeezed the weapon system beside him before reaching his left hand to key the mic. Copy, pack leader. Quickly his hand went back in to grip the strap of the backpack he would need to don in haste. This came as the convoy started to edge to the side of the freeway, till turning off onto a forest road. This dirt and gravel access way would not lead to the resort itself, but would bring them within a few hundred yards of the outer perimeter, thus close enough for legwork. Here, though, the vehicles bumped and tossed as the shocks were put to their full test on the roads used mostly by the durable Ranger pickups that used them for patrols. It was only a short distance before the convoy began to slow, letting its speed bleed off more and more until at last they came to a stop. Immediately, the massive wrecker sprung into action as the light turned green, and he fell to his knees and pulled the pack over his shoulder and began securing it. It was a cramped fit, but the best they could offer, with much of the armor plating removed to allow for his weight and some added space inside. The other teams were already easily clear of the vehicles and began sweeping the forest, now bathed in the fading light of the late afternoon, while their own goggles would have allowed them some limited night vision. The key benefit was the heads-up display that scanned for heat signatures. Said display suddenly pinged as the VIP service squads realized to their horror that a wolf was watching them and already began to howl. Across a gully it stood to the left side of the vehicles and was already racing away as rifles trained in its direction, but it was far too late, as each man came to realize. Glassden were not fools and had expected a few different locations for an attempted assault on their holdings. After all, they were stuck in a forever war with the Vink family. Thus the access road was well known. Just how well became immediately apparent when the HUDs lit up with multiple signature pings as dozens upon dozens of people moved from tree to tree towards them. "Team 2, shift now!" came the call out as a sudden cacophony of gunfire erupted throughout the trees, with the Wolverine and Wolfbloods of Glassden fighting to defend their home. Everglade's security team attempted to reposition, but more and more bodies were closing in on them, and as one member called out, they realized it was from all sides. Further down the access road were 5 silhouettes moving with incredible haste. At first just blobs from the HUD's display, but soon recognized for the monstrous wolf-like things they were. 2 Wrecker led the charge with the full moon shields raised, and 3 of their kin used them as a moving piece of cover to advance with all haste towards the vehicles. This ambush was going to turn into a truly bloody fight, as the second team was already clear, having taken their true forms and were ready to advance. This was halted when a sudden thump was heard before a tree beside VIP services erupted and splintered apart, with Glassden revealing its hand and explosive ordnance. Many within the trees were already shifting themselves, with the cover of the forest allowing concealment of the truth, and what would turn into a brawl of wolves. Everglade knew they were caught right in the trap, at least until their surprise was sprung. The back of the armored car suddenly came open, with some of the Wolverine and Wolfblood slowing their advance when they saw the barrel of the weapon start to stick out. Hang on, let's do this again. I added one little thing to that sentence. The back of the armored car suddenly came open, with some of the Wolverine and Wolfblood slowing their advance when they saw the barrel, or should they say barrels, of the weapons start to stick out. This was followed by the armored hand that helped heft Hendricks out of the back, as the armored car gave an audible protest to his weight. The entire thing lurched up high as the shocks were suddenly freed of their burden, while the behemoth clad in heavy armor turned and began to heft that massive gun up. Some in Glassden recognized it, and a cry for cover was heard. This came just as the wreckers swung the whole system to face the threat coming from the east of the convoy. And the 5 barrels began to... from the east, no, from the north of the convoy. That's incorrect, yeah. From the north. From the north of the convoy, and the 5 barrels began to spin up rapidly. With a single press of the trigger, lasting no more than a second or two, 57 rounds of 6mm erupted from the spinning barrels of the Gatling gun. The immense torque and recoil tried to throw the wrecker off his balance, but he simply planted his right foot back and held firm. Instantly, all heads on that flank were down and behind cover, not wanting to risk a burst which allowed Hendricks to move up. The other members of the VIP service were already shifting into their true forms and calling up the gifts of their casts. This covered Hendricks as he turned to face the 5 charging from the front and leveled the Gatling gun once more as the formation scattered upon seeing the intended target. Another hail of fire erupted from the gun, loosing 32 rounds this time, cut short by what came next. Hendricks felt like there was no longer ground beneath his feet, and thus his instinct kicked in and he released the trigger. He was suddenly falling right into the very soil he had been standing on, as were all the members of the VIP services unit. Yet most surprisingly of all, their opponents were as well. All fell until their heads were the only thing left above ground before it became solid once more, effectively neutralizing everyone in one fell swoop. The source of this unexpected twist became evident to Hendricks when he noticed the Phantom moving towards him while giving off no heat signature at all. Even with all the armor and mask covering him, those ears atop his head revealed the truth as they shifted down and back. The struggle to get free was forfeited by Hendricks, but the rest of the VIP unit was trying to loosen themselves until each one of them came to see the party approaching. There, strolling towards them, was a wolf of incomparable size, standing at nearly 8 feet to his shoulders and made entirely of roots, moss, and grass. A soft huff and grumble came as he walked with 4 others following suit behind him and helping to pull those trapped up and out of the soil. Thus the gift that Root Howler had given to his Ater for leal service had come into its own, and their trust and devotion had enhanced their Mikander to such strength within the mundane world. That is enough playtime, little guardians. None, even those within Glassden, knew that Root Howler was coming to personally stop the conflict and give order to the chaos. That voice reverberated throughout the trees, and the wolf now sat on his haunches as he looked at the pack leader for Everglade. The Emperor has given new orders. Will you obey? To swim amongst the soils of Saren as if it were water was the gift he bestowed upon his faithful. Perhaps he always could, but here and now he was pleased that he could channel the gift to defend those who were lost in a game they had no idea was being played. If there was anything that could do it, this was what brought a smile and soft ears to Root Howler's face. William stood in the empty room of the house he now owned, his eyes carefully tracing the bare wooden walls and floors covered in the thinnest layer of dust. Actually, I'm going to change that from wooden walls to log walls, because this is an old homage to log cabins. Raw potential for the den he would make for himself and his love. Yet he could not find himself in this moment. The voice was silent for the time being, but he now felt the pressure welling within his chest, throat, and head, as if he suddenly added another 20 pounds to each. He had taken to careful breathing techniques, But he knew what his other half was thinking, for it played at his mind firmly too. Where is Samantha? She's been gone for a long time. Did her parents keep her over long, or something else going on? He wanted so badly to rush out of the house and scour the city for her, but what good would that do? Instead, he tried her phone again. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later. The answer came to him over and over again from the pre-recorded message. What had happened to the woman he loved and who he was going to kill for? And who was he going to kill for it? That thought seared away in his mind as he began to grit his teeth, even as he breathed in a hiss through clenched jaws. He needed something to help him, someone to help him. He had promised the diner already, and he took a deep breath even as he felt the warmth roiling throughout his body and the weight pressing down on him. He carefully searched his contacts and brought the phone up to his ear as it rang, once, twice, and just before the third, the connection went through. Jonathan, it's William. I need to talk to you. It's urgent. And that's the end of chapter 21. All right, I'm gonna take a pause, a breather, as it were. Now that we've ended chapter 21. So, what'd you guys think? That was the brief fight between Everglade and Glassden. Oh, excuse me. Any other thoughts? Anyone else? Anybody else? Yeah, one thing I wanted to make clear too, and again, it may have slipped everyone's mind because it's been a bit. It's been a week since we talked about it because I did the other chapters. But remember what Meraxas said he was going to go do. There were a pair of wolves he needed to talk to. Well, who are the two wolves you think he talked to? It was Ithander and Root Howler. Those were the two wolves he was specifically talking about. So that's why if people get like it's kind of a Deus Ex Machina that the Mikander interrupted the fights at both locations. It's like it wasn't. I mean, it was on one hand, but it was set up beforehand. It was set up back in, I want to say, chapter 18, Memoriam. Meraxas specifically said he was going to go talk to a pair of wolves. All right. By the way, how long is chapter 21? I just realized. 318. Okay. And it started at it started at 301. So 17 pages. That was a long one. Deus Ex Machina in the original sense. Like, again, this was set up. You knew this was coming, right? If you paid attention to what Meraxas said, you knew this was coming. And it's fitting into... Well, we'll get into that here in chapter 22. So, let's go into chapter 22. Let me turn on my fan as well. Ha-ha! I didn't have to get out of the chair. I could reach over and get it. Lovely. All right. Chapter 22, The Signs. Jeremiah sat in stunned silence, cradling his head in his hands as he took the full force of Jonathan's rebukes and one nasty punch across his jaw as compensation. The Einvalder of Glassden was currently pacing around with clenched fists still, even as Alvin Meadows growled at him. "Don't you fucking start with me." Jonathan turned his gaze at the woman who now sat in the Mother form with the combat pack beside her. "So eager to get your grubby hands on what isn't yours." Look, we're trying to aid our Mikander, and we would do anything for him. This made Jonathan stop and turn his gaze back onto Jeremiah, who stood up and faced him. We need a convergence for Ithander. He isn't getting any better. He seems hale and hearty to me. Jeremiah waved a dismissive hand and looked back to his Mikander. True, he was more cognizant than he had been, but with the eyes of truth, Mr. Rossman could see it. There was the great divine dragon Emperor Meraxus settled behind him and gently stroking the split version of their great spirit still stuck in the other side of the mirror. He only looks that way now because of the care of the Emperor. He was split in two by the arrogance of a mageling, and we need to put him back together. Jonathan gave a huff and stepped up right into Jeremiah's face. This brought a new tension from all those gathered around, wondering if the fighting that had so abruptly ceased was to resume. Yeah? Well, tough fucking shit. My Ader has been looking for convergence for 150 years, and I was not going to deprive another tribe of their own. But you? No, you are just greedy enough to steal one, aren't you? Mr. Rossman wanted to growl and stamp his foot back, but instead he took a deep breath and relented. The tension eased, if only a little, as it was clear that Ithander, and by extension Jeremiah, did not wish for hostilities here past what had already been done. I made a mistake. I'm feeling desperate here. His words trailed off, but before the conversation could continue, Ithander strolled up to settle on his haunches between both of them. He says the hotel is not yours to have, but was the prize to tempt you here for his needs. This brought all eyes nearby to look at Ithander himself. What? What do you mean? It's not new. Hoodie Man, I'll say it right now. It's not new. This is the same old model, same model still. I'm using a new program for face tracking. It's way better. Actually tracks my eye movements and everything. Actually tracks the eyebrows and stuff. VC Face didn't. VC Face had troubles. But I don't know how heavy this program is either. I haven't tested it in other games. What? What do you mean? Jeremiah clenched at his chest some. That old feeling of being powerless to make his own choices crept back in. It was the feeling he had carried for so long, that he was merely swept away by the needs of his tribe and not in any real control. The Divine Dragon Emperor knew of your desperation, and the doubt of your self-worth. The longer the search went on, the more you felt as if you were the weakness in Everglade. He heard the words and closed his eyes and turned away, which made Jonathan look from the Great Spirit back to Mr. Rossman. How? Seriously, how do you, of all people, feel worthless? Do you understand the sheer size and power of Everglade? Jeremiah didn't turn, but gave a low grumble. Do you think that means anything? Now he turned and glared at Glassden's chieftain. I would sacrifice every last bit of it to help Ithander. And what was all that power and money done for us? We still, even with this chance, we still are stuck searching. Jonathan Olfither, the man that had stood against so much adversity and clawed his way through the horrors of the world to stand where he did now, was suddenly at a loss for words. He had to take a moment, even rub his face a few times as he thought through exactly what to say, until at last he looked firmly into Jeremiah's eyes. I am loath to admit it, but if my Mikander Jerox were to suffer such an injury, I doubt I would do any better than you. Jeremiah was going to speak, but Jonathan raised a hand. Not in a hurry, not trying Not in haste, for he was not trying to force the younger chieftain's submission. It was a request. Plain, simple, and straightforward, as he wished to have more time with his thoughts, so as to more fairly engage with the struggles of someone so unlike him and his. Slowly, carefully considered, he came to sit beside Ithander and offered a hand out to have Jeremiah join him. I've been building bridges for a long time. Been fighting even longer. Beat against the Smilers, the Hells, cults. Fuck even the Vink family and their mundane ambitions. The man that ran a house of desires, putting fantasy to film for the pleasure of the flesh, had concealed much of the strength behind that facade. Appearances are only that. So come and give this old Yalderskald your story. Let us start a new bridge and understanding between our Aeter. As the Emperor expected. Those words made Jonathan grumble as he looked at Ithander, while Mr. Rossman slowly settled in to the opposite side. Dare I ask what you mean, O Mikander, Ithander? The great wolf simply turned his head slightly before tilting it and thinking for a time. It was only Jeremiah who still channeled the gifts that realized the Great Spirit was in conference with Meraxes at this very moment. I cannot share that for now. All I can say is things are playing out as has been planned and foreseen. This made Jonathan raise a brow before he looked between the Mikander and the other Einvalder. Okay. Well then, I suppose I'll shelve that curiosity. Jeremiah suddenly turned towards Allison, the move and words coming so sharply that it cut Jonathan off. Shit, did you recall? Allison raised a hand and nodded her head. Yes, Einvalder. The VIP services unit was recalled, but they were stopped. This made Jonathan beam with pride before Allison looked at him and shook her head, as were the Glassden defenders. The Mikander from the Emerald Grove showed up to stop the battle and bring both sides to heel. Right, Ithander. Reaper Song looked long and hard at the Mikander wolf. What is going on? You stopped this fight, and the Mikander of the Emerald Groves just happened to be there to stop the fight at the hotel? It is as the Emperor willed it to be. It's what must happen. More hands are needed for the hour approaches. Jonathan raised a brow before the Great Spirit tilted his head and looked at Jonathan looked at him intently. You've already pledged you and yours to this Sorry, throat demon, hold on. You've already pledged you and yours to this problem. He can't hold on forever. Mr. Ulfither suddenly withdrew from his gaze and turned to look down. The realization within him that even the divines were moving in preparation for the awakening. Sorry, really, really bad throat demons. This made Mr. Rossman turn, his purple eyes slowly fading as the gift slowly ran its course and came to an end, taking the visage of the Emperor along with it. I take it you know something about this? Jonathan looked to his momentary rival and gave a nod. There's a man, like us, but completely different. He's resisted the truth of himself and his nature as a Wolverine for far too long. Jeremiah raised a brow and was about to ask the obvious question when Jonathan just carried on. You might find it absurd, but he's resisted the dreams for over 15 years. That's not possible, as far as we understood it. But his discipline is completely beyond anything we would imagine. To the point that Monty and Meraxes have made him a special focus of their attention. It's brought a nod and a huff from Ifander, who began to stretch out before walking, but it was quickly apparent that he was circling the pair of Einwalder. Correct. And this is what the Emperor has told me. You were drawn to this place for this purpose. The bait was set so that the two Einwalder most capable would meet. You, Jonathan, Reaper Song, are a generational combatant, and you, Jeremiah, my savior, are the leader of the largest tribe that has lived within Saren. The pair of Einwalder looked at each other before Glasden's chieftain gave a nod of his head. That's why you could only arrive at the end of the auction, wasn't it? I said it before, but you could confirm it for me. You only found out in the twilight of it, didn't you? Jeremiah looked carefully at him and let out a long sigh. Hearing Ithander speak, with the Emperor having his ear at the moment, no less, puts the idea into divine intervention. One of our employees, Blood of the Wolf, was going through the old archives to make a backup digital copy to stay alongside our physical reserve. It was then he stumbled upon the bunker beneath the Briar's Glade, and the dozens and dozens of reports of strange happenings. The older wolf snapped his fingers and let out a pleased chuckle. Of course, Sunstone has long been under the Everglade canopy. Correct. Right after I secured and overhauled the first 5 companies under the umbrella. Once I had Marigold, I started thinking about who Marigold supplied, thus Sunstone became the obvious choice. Already famous for their quality, and they got much of their supply from Marigold itself. Ironically, because of their name, they weren't doing so well anymore. This made Jonathan chuckle a little. Oh, trust me, I understand. Given the incident early this morning. The incident this early evening. Why I auto-corrected that, I don't know why. Jeremiah nodded his head. Right, well, the name was like an anchor around them. So many people just assumed that Sunstone only did masonry, and so as they were floundering, I stepped in. Bought the entire company and made sure they're put to work for us. It was during this time under our banner that they finished building Briar's Glade, but the people on site didn't know the signs. This brought a sigh from the man, and he looked at Ithander, watching as the wolf continued to pace. As for why we need the hotel, let me clear up a misconception. Please do. Jonathan listened intently to the man, offering him the recording of the Yalderskald, and to allow himself to unload his burden. Everglade is rich. Affluent to be sure, but that isn't the same as many other corporations. On paper, we should have more money than a dragon's hoard in every pocket, but we do not. I could live a comfortable life on what I do get, but most of that money actually flows back into Everglade through one of its subsidiaries or is donated out. Oh my god, sorry, the throat demons are really trying. Hold on. Yep, sorry. It isn't what you hear all the time in articles, papers, journals, websites. Yeah, well, so many people think that because I have a lot of companies under the canopy, and because it's a privately owned conglomerate, that I must therefore be swimming in cash. But I have a lot of people to take care of. That weight has been pressing down on me for a long time, and my tribe. I need to be better for all of them. Appearances are just that. Jeremiah listened to the man's words before he ruminated on them, and at last nodded in acceptance. It's a good phrase for this. Sorry. It's a good phrase for this. Most of my money goes into supporting the tribe, especially our children. Everglade at its heart is the Ater, and thus tending to our wolf bloods. Giving them proper education in our tribe and understanding of the spirits is important to us. So my tribe has flourished in numbers, but this only happened because of a great tragedy. There was nothing for Jonathan to say, and instead he gave a quick nod, a single tilt of his head for the man to carry on. Yet Jeremiah lingered on the idea for a long time as he wrestled with where to begin. My sin is avarice. It had been a thing that plagued me for a long time, even as I climbed the ranks of the tribe. Ever in the back of my mind, I feared that my earnest desire to step up was somehow corrupted by that want for more. When the calamity came, I was the 4th Talon. The tribe was still small. All our 5th Talons were also part of the Rogenwalder Council, and we numbered 25 wolves with near to 100 wolf bloods. The man took a deep breath and let his eyes linger on Ithander once more. Then he came. That fucking prick. Allison's sudden interjection made Jonathan raise a brow, but Jeremiah nodded his head in agreement with her. A mageling. He was young and overconfident, as he would later confess. He was also working off some bad information and thought he had to scare us away from the convergence point. This was allegedly some sort of test of his ability as a spellslinger. But the spell he used was too close to the anchor, and it resonated with it. Jonathan suddenly clenched his hand into a fist as he listened. The convergence point destabilized and severed Ithander in half, splitting his physical manifestation with his true spiritual body. As the anchor shook, it pulled in everything around it. What do you mean? Jeremiah looked down, as did Allison, and a few of the other wolves who were clear veterans of the tribe. When a convergence point collapses, it's like a drain backflows. The other side not only got scrambled, but it sucked in all the surrounding areas too. Hundreds of Fiander were thrown from that side into the mundane world. The entire council and Reinvalder were instantly in the fight, with half dying before they could even finish shifting. Ithander was under constant assault, and some survivors who had challenged the mage retreated out to spread word of the collapse. Ithander stopped his pacing and looked at Jeremiah before he spoke. You saved me. This made the man let out a soft gasp as he brought a hand up to rest on the Mickander's cheek. I did, but I rallied who I could and charged. I charged back into the Horger as the convergence disappeared like a clot forming to stem a bleeding wound. The mage had run away in horror from what he had wrought, and our tribe was near to crippled. 14 of the 25 were now dead. I was the highest ranked wolf left, and thus had to step up, but you saved me. Ithander repeated the words, but this time stepped forward and pushed his head at Jeremiah's chest. Your fear that temptation corrupts your drive has held you for so long. You aren't the weak link in this tribe. You are the foundation upon which the Aether survived, adapted, and now thrives. Everyone stepped up, not just me. This is when Allison walked up and slapped Jeremiah upside the back of his head. Would you knock it off, Chief? This brought a growl of sheer annoyance from Jeremiah, which Allison Meadows reciprocated. We all had to step up, but no one understood how to rebuild the way you did. You laid the foundation. You built the tribe back. Your leadership is why we have hundreds and hundreds of wolves in the tribe, with thousands upon thousands of wolf bloods. Yes, our search for a new convergence point has been going poorly, but that isn't your fault. Saren is a big world. Rosentia is a massive country. We'll find one eventually, and with the resources we have, it will be well guarded for generations to come. Far be it from me to interject in your tribe's affairs as an outsider, but you are far too hard on yourself. Do you remember what you said before, without hesitation? Jeremiah turned his attention from the throbbing warmth in the back of his head to the Yalderskald. You would sacrifice every bit of Everglade to help Ithander. I don't think your temptation is clouding your drive at all. Thank you, Mr. Ulfither. His words were more balanced now than they had been. You ever get the mage that caused it all? Oh, yes. Jeremiah's face became more dour and he couldn't hide the subtle smirk. I hunted him down personally and gave him the bite before enforcing the contract on him myself. Is that how you know of his... The nod ensured he didn't need to ask further, before Jonathan just looked back across all the others that had started to crowd around. Right, well, where do we go from here? I suppose that depends. Jeremiah looked at Ithander intently and took a deep breath. What is it the Emperor asks of us? Simple. Bring a team with Jonathan. He'll bring his own team. 3 groups, all working together alongside the Divine to brace and steady the levy against the tide. Anything more specific? As Jeremiah was speaking, a phone call suddenly came in, causing Jonathan to withdraw it from his pocket. His face immediately became more worried as he answered and brought the phone up to his ear. Hey there, Jonathan? Sorry. Jonathan, it's William. I need to talk to you. It's urgent. It sounds like it. What seems to be the situation? Jonathan flinched a little as he heard the man take a labored breath and gasp some. I can hear myself much closer now, and I'm seeing things. And I'm sweating, and... The man's face betrayed the severity he felt in the call, something that all those gathered around and drawing closer could recognize. I'll be there, and I'll bring some of my tribe and allies with me. Just tell me where you need me. I'll send the address. Just get here soon. I haven't heard from Samantha for a bit, and I feel like I'm going to be sick. He nodded his head and then looked squarely into Jeremiah's eyes. We'll head straight there. Make sure you tell Michael as well. This could be it. The phone line went dead and Jonathan waited as the text came in with the address upon it. This is when Ithander perked up and let out another huff. This is where we part ways of now. Sorry, for now. I will go back to rest. The Emperor is making the final preparations. May you all be truly prepared for what is to come. The weasel of a man stared at the monitor of the base computer. This was one of the only terminals in the entire building allowed to be connected to the outside networks, and thus communication between disparate jurisdictions of the NDA itself. His appearance here was not random chance, nor was it desired, as the scowl made clear upon his face while he swayed lightly on the balls of his feet. Even in spite of his annoyance, he was at least grateful that the chaotic and discordant nature of the NDA and its organization allowed moments such as this to inform him of a greater threat. A clerical error, they said, but oh how they didn't bother to check the contents and see the smoking gun with his face and hand near literally on every page of it. Such a disastrous paper trail would ensure his ending within one of the many black sites across Rosentia at the hands of the custodial units. He turned to look at the man who had alerted him and was trying his best to keep his eyes away from the information. He would need to be disposed of later. For now, he printed the documents to confirm them and ordered the deletion of the data entirely. While it may have seemed odd to keep physical evidence on hand, he needed to ensure that he got every single page that bitch used to try this stunt. He also wanted to impress upon his master how active he was in trying to make amends of this mess. Thus he suffered no distraction as he charged through the building right to the commander's office and knocked on the door. "Enter." Quickly he burst through the door and sealed it tight against curious eyes and ears, for he spun and presented himself before the commander. Said man was currently toying with the condensed shotgun he had personally modified to fit within the drawer of his desk. Bullet holes were far easier to explain than a body with chunks torn from it and missing. "Sir, she sent out a message to some of the other installations across state lines." This made Lorcan Thetis sit upright more and raise a brow, his cold, dead eyes staring at his puppet. "Who? Wait, you mean our little bait?" "Yes, sir." Far from being annoyed, that terrible smile dragged itself across the man's face as those eyes betrayed not a single hint of intention. "Ah, this is perfect. We already have those men tailing her, correct?" Agent Cooper nodded his head before smiling. "Good. Tell them I want her snatched now. She's to be labeled a traitor to the NDA." "Right away, sir. I also had the files deleted off the network, and will go into the archives to ensure all this is thoroughly destroyed." This made the commander laugh in that terrible suffocating noise, which made Agent Cooper shiver in anticipation of those next words. "Well done, Cooper. Very well done indeed." The contract between them released a dopamine high that made the repulsive leech shiver and offer a bow of his head. Lorcan dismissed the puppet before he simply leaned back in his chair and reveled in the schemes now winding their way towards his ultimate goal. He was going to snap that little mouse in front of William, more so now that he had true reason to have it happen, and then be there to pick up the pieces of his life. He would make sure the pup would be ever so grateful to his commander, and thus prove those hypocrites wrong. The soul within him had long since died, and the thing puppeting him now chased the memories of what was like a machine off its guide rails. A more perfect portent for doom would have been hard to find. The car pulled into the gas station, a building of seeming pure utility adorned in decoration to make a strangely inviting storefront. Inside there was a small market, acting as a cornerstone store for the nearby apartment buildings, while the pumps themselves were adorning the company mascot, offering warnings about filling up. On the building itself was a large red button with several icons around to express the importance of it, and thus Samantha couldn't help but let her eye get drawn to it for just a moment. She often wondered what it would be like to need that button so desperately. Yet the momentary distraction ceased as she took up the fuel nozzle and turned, watching as another car pulled into the station and settled at the parking spots by the door. Strangely, at least to her mind, no one got out of the vehicle at all. She also felt as if she recognized the people inside it, but from the angle she couldn't be sure. This is when she started refueling and her eyes caught the second oddity, as another car pulled into a parking spot across the street. This vehicle, too, did not see anyone leave it. Instead, the pair inside seemed to be chatting away, and thus a tingle went up her spine. Has she already been tagged? As the gas continued to fill into the tank of her car, she turned, making a show of giving her back to those across the street as she focused instead on the reflective metal beside the pumps themselves. With this, she started taking in other details and noted the car had parked in the mouth of an alley, thus blocking its access. The hairs along her arm were starting to tingle, and she furrowed her brow as she stared intently at the two occupants. The car across the street suddenly showed strange movement, and the man in the driver's seat leaned way back as the passenger drew something up and turned to face her. This is when she snapped her focus around and stared right at them, spinning on the heel of her foot to turn faster than they could react. This caught the two off guard, and they flinched, realizing the farce was done as they held a large camera used in stakeouts for gathering evidence. Samantha's eyes went wide, and she pulled the nozzle from the fuel tank in a swift motion and raced to jump back into the car. This caused the car at the station itself to start its engine as the two across the street pulled up a radio and were yelling something into it. Far from worrying about her current crime of stealing fuel, she started the engine and floored it, racing out of the gas station as the two other cars quickly fell into pursuit. All three vehicles now in an invisible race to the common motorist, who panicked as they weaved in and out of traffic in the early afternoon. This is when her training started to kick in and she began to slow her vehicle, not to conserve fuel, but to ensure she wouldn't drive erratically and ultimately crash. This chase would be decided by careful thinking and thwarting the maneuvering of those behind her, who held the advantage of matching her movements. Thankfully, the cars behind her did not have emergency lights to use, for tailing a potential rogue assets could easily be spotted by the telltale signs of law enforcement modification. This would not be the same for the next wave of vehicles surely making their way towards her, as the game of obfuscation was thwarted and now was the hunt. To use this advantage, she tried to make as much chaos amongst the other motorists. Sorry. These throat demons are trying real hard. To use this advantage, she tried to make as much chaos amongst the other motorists as she could. This came with a twinge of guilt in that their unsuspecting drive would see them as obstacles that could be used to thwart her pursuers. Up ahead, she saw a fairly robust-looking car and thus turned into it, catching the back bumper with the corner of her vehicle as she forced it to spin out. Tires screeching to herald the car now arcing in front of her vehicle and coming to slow behind as the pursuing cars tried to maneuver around the sudden obstacle. It did little to impede them, and thus she needed a better plan and was thankful to see the traffic on her side was starting to thicken. The next light was already turning red, and so she made a snap judgment and darted into the oncoming traffic lane, where a few had turned and were suddenly met with her. Panic spread quickly and they tried to swerve out of the way. eventually causing a bottleneck as she raced through the intersection as cross traffic began to move freely and put the car into a skid to slide back into the appropriate lane. Shockingly, her would-be captors attempted the same, though both were severely delayed as they tried it with far less speed and more care to cross. Thus it was now or never, and Samantha turned the car down the next right and quickly pulled into a parking lot before she cut the engine and dove from the vehicle. There was no time to lock it, for she knew the pursuit cars would be here in moments, and thus raced low, using the cars of the lot as cover to get towards a nearby alley. She also had to give up on the idea of protecting anything in the vehicle, for such would just get her caught all the sooner. She just managed to dip into the alley and out of sight as she heard the screeching of tires, likely with the pursuers realizing her car was no longer on the road. She hoped she had made enough distance, and the alley was thoroughly packed with enough debris to make vehicle traversal unwise, but such hopes were shattered. One of the men cried out as she couldn't help but turn her head as he pointed directly at her. "Samantha's heading that way." She saw the same man pull up a radio and began talking into it, unable to hear from the distance as the second vehicle did a U-turn and was heading for the next street over. Thus she put her entire focus into racing through the alley and for the next street. And for that next street. A strange confidence was starting to well within her as she felt she could easily outpace them on foot if they dismounted to give chase. That feeling was boosted as she began to feel lighter, as if her body wasn't working as hard to push her forward and she was more easily cutting through the air itself. She could hear the footfalls of someone chasing behind her, but her real worry was the car trying to cut off her advance. This was confirmed when she burst forth from the alley into the other street, and the second car was screeching as it took the corner hard. She was already halfway across the road when the car screeched to a halt. To a halt, and the passenger dove out, fresh and ready to run her down. Yet he could not keep up as she raced into the next alley, this one beside a small exterior shopping strip of businesses. Her feet hit the ground like drums, even kicking up standing puddles as she knocked trash cans and any debris she could behind herself, as she saw the alley did not cut clean through and instead turned. As she rounded the corner, her mind raced with shock, as down the alley she saw the gate at what appeared to be the back of a flower shop. The utter absurdity of its existence and the urgency of the situation were driving her adrenaline to new gear, as she tried to slam against the door made of bars with enough force to ensure it opened. She was thoroughly rebuked, and her body cried out in pain as she rebounded off it and crashed against the wet stones and concrete of the alley itself. She paused for only a moment as she looked around and hastily began moving some old dumpsters to use as makeshift barricade. This is at last when a man rounded the corner, panting to catch his breath, and quickly ducked back when Samantha raised her hand in mimicry of a gun. "Fuck! She's right here!" The man called out as more footsteps came to join him. Much to her dismay, she looked further down the alley, and the man who had been attempting to cut her off was now strolling up it rapidly. Even more to accept the hopelessness of her situation was that the gate was open on his side of the alley, as if the universe itself wanted to make sure she was thoroughly caged in. "Enough, Samantha. Give it up." Sorry. "Enough, Samantha. Give it up, you." The man took in a few more deep breaths as he peered around the corner. "Oh, fuck me. You're coming with us." The two men approaching from her front and the man from behind were starting to carefully box her in. There was nothing but a pair of dumpsters keeping her mostly concealed as she looked over the men approaching. A fourth now joining the other two in front of her, and yet far from feeling worried, she instead felt incredible. Though her plan had been stopped, she felt more alive and free than she had ever felt in her life. There was this strange sensation as if she could feel the wind and air move clearly, and even the gentle caress of condensation off cooling units or evaporating from the puddles in the shade of the alley. Her breathing was already perfectly steady, even after her flight, and she could hear something strange as if the corner of her mind as she called out, "Like doing Lorcan's dirty work now. You help him make those people disappear too?" The three men in the front looked confused as the fourth man opened the back gate and was carefully approaching her position slowly. "Can you feel it, Samantha Baker?" "What are you talking about, woman?" "Samantha, we got orders to bring you in. You need to come with us now." "All around you is nature itself." The words in her mind were strange and yet somehow comforting. Each breath she took now felt different, and even as she took a look at the man approaching from behind, now starting to unlock the gate, she saw it. Every time she inhaled, the flowers of that shop, hidden away in the back alley as some pseudo-storage, seemed to close. When she exhaled, they bloomed as if basking in the nourishment her breath gifted to them, as if a cycle. "Awful convenient that you lads don't know." "This you are entrusted with. This is a part of who you are. A mandate handed down from the divine to those blessed children of the world itself." The voice continued, sounding as if the words of an old grandfather speaking to a child sat upon his lap. "Look, whatever the case may be, we can work through this. We're colleagues, yeah?" The man at the back gate unlocked it and carefully approached the dumpster, all while the other three started to advance. "Child of the world, beautiful raven of the skies, you are to protect nature itself, for all need its embrace to live." Her breathing came stronger, the flowers moving as if bowing to her with every breath. "You are to protect the spirits, for they are the very soul of the world and that life given." A droplet of water hit a puddle far beneath the cooling unit above, and its ripples radiated across her skin. "Lastly, you must defend the natural order of the world, for only in this order can existence even be." "Yeah? Work what out, though? Why are you even chasing me?" She could feel it as all the hairs on her body stood proud, and her eyes looked to the sky as if seeing it for the first time. Hundreds of birds in all shapes and sizes sat along the edges of rooftops, along strands of electrical wiring encircled in the sky above her. Each of them bowed their heads in acknowledgement of who she truly was. "Bitch, just give it up. You're surrounded. Don't make us shoot you." The man's patience was done, and his hand withdrew his sidearm as he began to advance more quickly. She felt incredible, and the cold air began to descend all around as what few windows looked into the alley began to fog. It was in this moment she realized it. Something there deep within her all along, as if waiting patiently for a friend to sit alongside it. She settled in and became that friend, as the sound of bones cracked and radiated throughout the alley. That sound alerting the men who all rushed the dumpsters, with the one from the back forcefully pulling them aside. It was in this moment his mind suddenly slipped, as the static discharge arced throughout the alley. All the electronic devices here crackled and sputtered before they were snuffed out in an instant. No radios, no cameras, no phones. Nothing but human eyes and minds to register and bear witness to the birth of a new voir dire. A Revoran woman taking her true form for the first time. She had doubled over for a moment from the pain, but now began to stand as her clothing fell away in tatters. She stood near 8 feet in height. Brilliant wings of ebony unfurled as her body became encased in feathers. A sharp beak protruded from her face as her dazzling silver eyes seemed to glow and take in the terrified looks around her. Her forearms and lower legs were covered in thick and hard scales, with 4 digits on her feet, one turned back for support, and 5 on her hands that all bore terrible talons. The first man came to understand just how brutal when she drew them across his face, gouging enough depth to mark even the bone beneath before they tore his throat free. Gunfire erupted from the other 3 men, who were already retreating back as they shot. One had the misfortune of stumbling over some loose rubbish in the alley and scrambled to get to his feet. For her part, each impact felt as if a bee sting, painful and annoying to be sure, but ultimately just an annoyance, as something in her mind called to her. She quickly swept her right wing towards the furthest man from her, and several feathers plucked themselves free and spun in the air. These then turned like darts and embedded themselves in the man, who shrieked in pain before the last one punctured his tear duct and buried itself deep. Her body felt like nothing she had ever experienced before. No matter the highest heights she had reached, this blew past them all. She leapt up, kicking off with her legs to take a jump over the dumpster, and landed right beside the third man trying to get to the corner of the alley. His pistol had long since run dry, and though he hadn't dropped it, the slide was locked back and awaiting his reload to no avail. Her razor-sharp talons took his neck clean, and far deeper than she had expected, given the ease with which they swept through. It was at this point her wings fluttered, and the feathers she had cast into the second man drew themselves out, twirling to clean themselves as they returned to their place. She would need to get used to that idea at some point, but this left the final man, who had completely given up. It was clear as he held the empty pistol up at her, trying desperately to pull the trigger with no response, and drooling on his own shirt. She wanted to finish all of them off. Hell, she needed to, given what her mother told her. But that didn't mean she needed to be cruel about it. And thus she picked up the man by his shoulder, grabbed his head and wrenched it in one quick motion. Immediately he went limp, and she dropped him back in the alley just as she heard the sirens, in the strange cadence of the NDA, closing in towards the alleyway. She needed a way out and desperately looked around before that huge gathering of birds above her suddenly swarmed down. They all grabbed at her body with their talons and pulled her off her feet, where she expected to meet the concrete of the alley. Instead, she was suddenly through it, and now standing in a hazy plain of slightly swaying walls and colors beyond her imagining before. The bodies in that alley and the blood dripping from her talons signaled the irrevocable change. Yet to her mind, it was like she had finally drawn herself awake from a dream that had held her for far too long. Also, not a new model, new tracking program. Way better tracking program, so it actually uses my eye tracking and everything. So you can tell when I look over to the chat. So you can see, looking ahead, look over to the chat, look ahead, look over to the chat. Michael put the phone away and rubbed at his face while he looked over the 2 other tribes that were now being forced to get along by his Aether's Mikander. This had been the unexpected part, that the ones behind everything were extract, or more accurately Everglade, and what's more is they were also Vordir. At the moment the 2 tribes were being polite but cold to one another, especially as one of Everglades could not shift back from the Wolverine true form, for the equipment he had was too extreme to bear without it. Hendricks himself was grumbling a bit as he had taken off the helmet and settled in on the ground at the insistence of Root Howler. Said McCander was currently thoroughly inspecting all of his equipment, sniffing at it and pawing at it a bit, which made the wrecker grumble. Listen, Great Spirit, this isn't a toy or... Root Howler huffed and looked at the black-furred wolf intently. I'm no fool. I'm thoroughly investigating it, though. Could my Aether manufacture this? This brought a sigh from the VIP Services pack leader, who shook his head. Not to be blunt, McCander Root Howler, but no. This was from years of dedicated and secret craft within our tribe. It isn't just the normal weapon, there is weird work in it too. By the way, it's going to be spelled out to William in the next chapter, but weird spelled W-Y-R-D, weird work. The wolf made of nature itself nudged at the backpack and then the barrels of the Gatling gun. Ah, yeah, I guess you could tell where. Of course. I'm a child of the wilding, after all. The weird is just a natural part of the divine planes. The archaic statement caught the pack leader off guard as he looked between the rest of his compatriots before Michael flagged his attention and waved him off. Nay worry about that. Been reliably informed that our terminology be a wee bit out of date compared to most. Michael then slowly stepped up beside Root Howler, who could comfortably look into the Goofy's eyes while standing on all fours from the sheer size of him. I just got word from William and Jonathan Tay. He be struggling as he said he would. Of course. The Emperor assured me as much. You'll be going to his side now. Michael nodded his head some and clenched the phone he had returned to his pocket. Vidic, Gregory, and Sarah will be going with you. Everglade and Glassden will have their own teams and assistants, too. The statement, given as fact, brought about a strange accusatory glare from each member of both tribes, who now weighed the options of working with those who had moments ago been trying to kill them. What do you mean? The pack leader's voice attempted to be the center of reason in this fiasco, while serving a second purpose of seeking an answer to the McCander statement. Your McCander Ithander has already agreed, and the Emperor has commanded more hands to hold the dam when it cracks open. What dam? The confusion he wore was becoming a permanent mask, for the circumstances had truly become so absurd in a time too short for such revelations. Sensing the apprehension within Everglade's pack leader, Michael gave the man a pat on the shoulder and offered a smile. One that did little to ease him in the moment. I'll explain it to you, laddie. But as per what the Emperor done said afore, the world is about to change for good. Sadly, I can only give ye the briefest rundown, and then I needs to depart with me pack to aid William. Oh, I didn't finish the sentence here. Yeah. The pack leader gave a sigh as he accepted what little information he would be given. There would be time enough to understand what happened after the fallout settled. And that's the end of chapter 22. Yeah, it's like, I don't know why I stopped. I stopped doing, there would be time enough to understand, and then I stopped. So I was like, oh, well, let's fix that real quick. Yeah, there you go, chapter 22. Again, Samantha's awakening. more of her appearance will be dealt with here in the coming chapter. But yeah, right now, she is a naked Revoran at the moment. So her tatas and her vulnerables are all exposed. And she's only going to realize this in hindsight because, again, she feels like she's clothed. She has feathers all over her body, right? But she's going to realize, like, oh, oh. And the feathers that are along, like, more sensitive areas, they're the short little downy stuff. Oh, that's a shame, Anti-Boy Scout. That's a shame. Yeah, so she's got little, like, the little short and soft feathers in those specific situations or places. Yeah. Alright, hang on a second. I need to go to the bathroom real quick. So I'll be right back. Let me know what you guys thought of chapter 22 while I go to the bathroom. B a momento. Uno momento, por favor. Alright, I'm back. I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. Hold on. Boop. There we go. Perfect. Alright. So again, what'd you guys think of chapter 22? Chapter 22 is shorter than 21 was. Let's see. 333, but it's just into 333. Just into 319. So 318 to 320. Sorry, to 332. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah. Absolute cinema. Okay. Nice. Now remember, like I said, there's setup and payoffs everywhere. So, how... If you remember in the original outline, now the NDA are going to go to William's house. But how did the NDA know where William lives? Remember what Samantha said in chapter 21. I have a good memory, and we wrote it down anyways. And she was flipping the paper, the yellow note that she had. Well, what did she just leave behind in the alleyway? When she changed into a Revor, and now she was in panic, like, okay, I can't let people see me like this. I need to get the fuck out of here. And the spirits pulled her into the other side of the mirror. Well, she left behind all her clothes. Where her phone is. Where her wallet is. Where a certain yellow note is with an address on it. Alrighty. Okay. So, two things that I want to do. I need to get rid of the War Dogs playtest thing. Because obviously we can't play it right now. Obviously, we can't actually play it at the moment. Oh, I feel bad. One of my buddies tried to do it. 3 minutes he tried to play the War Dogs thing. He's like, oh, it's closed down, my dude. It's closed, my brother. One thing War Dogs needs to do is they need to sell the supporter pack separate. I want the supporter pack. I wanted to try War Dogs first before I decided to get the supporter pack. Now, I'd have to buy the game and the supporter pack together. That's the only way to get the supporter pack. Blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I'm gonna put on, like, let us buy the supporter pack separate. Let us buy the supporter pack separate. Like, that's it. Yeah, uninstalling the playtest. Uninstall the playtest, because it doesn't do anything, right? The playtest currently does nothing. There is no playtest at the moment. There's no playing. Not until September 10th. So there's no point in having it right now. Holy shit, that's a really good deal. Oh, excuse me. Or I should say it's a really good deal compared to us. It's 40. What is it? It's 50 for the supporter pack with it. Yeah. Yeah, you got a really nice one. Because remember, the supporter pack also comes with the base game. That's what I mean. There's no like separate pricing. Yeah, yeah. Another thing is Crimson Desert is on sale until September 9th. So when I get paid, I'm gonna buy Crimson Desert. When I get paid, that's Crimson Desert's gonna be our big one. I've been wanting Crimson Desert for a long time. So yeah. Yeah, now, what I want to do, chat, what we're going to try to do today, real quick, while we're still doing stuff, I'm going to try and start Stalker 2. And I want to see... the test here is how resource intensive is VNyan, which is the new program I'm using, which, as you see, has way better tracking and everything on it, right? Way better. That's the Skyrim-like open world game with that unnecessary but cool statue construction? No, I wouldn't say Skyrim-like. Skyrim has no depth to it, right? It's just massive. Like, Crimson Desert is huge and has depth. The problem is a lot of people talk about its story not being great. Which, for me, it's like, okay, fair enough. It will suck that the story's not great, but how good's the game, right? I'll tell you one thing I'm noticing here with VNyan. I'm not getting the warning about the encoder being overloaded. So that's already a big plus. Potential. Potential, chat. Oh, potential. Is VNyan lighter weight? With better tracking and everything? Well, to be fair, VC Face hasn't been updated for a couple years. So, yeah, that's what made me change over. Potential. That's what I'm thinking of doing too, is ponying up for the ultimate. Which would basically be buying the game again, right? But yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I want to see if VNyan works. And I do have a plan to upgrade. So I'm going to upgrade my CPU. There is a CPU that, like, is much better. It is an i5 11. I have it saved. Let me get it. Let me get it and I'll tell you. I'll tell you all about it. It's a great CPU. I need to go to other bookmarks. I need to go to my games. We're going to be playing games. The i5 11600K is a big upgrade from my current processor, which is the 10600K. But it's like on charting, it's 5,000 additional computations. Like it's a way better charting for it. Way better charting. Whoops. I made a mistake. Games. There we go. I'll show you the charting because I was checking between everything, so I'll show you these charts. Okay, so this is doing pass mark and going off their stuff, and I'm doing my comparison stuff. This is the thing I have. This is the peak I could get. This is an upgrade. And then this was an experiment to see, like, okay, this has more cores, but it sounds like it's worse for gaming. And it is. Right? Like, this is peak, right? Over 10,000 more CPU mark. This is still over 5,000 more. And then check the prices, right? Where's the prices? There. Oh, here we go. Yeah, in here. So look, $176 for the one I have now. $174 for the upgrade, so less money for an upgrade, which is crazy. But then this would be $470, right? So I'm like, if I just get the upgrade, you know, look at the value, like the price, the dollar per performance thing value. It's an 80.9. This is 111.3. Huge dollar value increase, right? I'd go from this to this. That's really fucking nice. That's really fucking nice. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I was showing here, based off some thoughts of like, do I want to get the 460? Do I want to get the 560? Right? And then I'm looking at the total power draw and everything. I'm like, whoo! A 460 is that much lower? It's more expensive than the 560. Like, how does that work? The 5060? What the fuck? But then I'm looking at this. Again, like, a 3,000, a little bit less, but a 3,000 increase versus a 4,000 increase. Again, a little less. Honestly, with lower power draw, with that much lower of a power draw to it, I think I'd want to get a 460 instead. You know what I mean? Like, a 4060. The 5060 is not that much better. So, yeah. And plus, this is PCIe 5.0. Right? Like, it's cheaper, but this is 5.0, and my board doesn't support 5.0, as far as I know. Because I was checking, like, what board supports what, right? So again, this is still a big fucking upgrade. And I had to make sure I got the right version, right? So I have the 12 gigabyte card version, so, yeah. Alright. Let's see what happens if we get any of the, like, encoder overloaded or anything like that with Vignon. Encoder overloaded. Whoa! It hasn't happened yet. We're in. I don't see nothing. I'm in and I don't see nothing. Yeah. Again, it looks fine. We're looking good. We're looking tasty. Vignon's working just fine. Soccer 2's running just fine. I think this is lighter weight than VC Face was. So this spells some good news for me and War Dogs, because I definitely want to play more War Dogs. Let's go to the electric field. Yeah, it's way nicer. Way nicer. Zoom, 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 zoom. Nee, 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 nee. Ship from Call of Pripyat. He helps Sultan take over the ship in Zotan. Yeah. You have, you can talk to the guys, though. The guys that got cast out. Like, I appreciate that you can go to them. Like, there's a different place you can go to in Zotan with the original people that held the that had held the boat or the ship, I guess. Hey, are you the driver of the boat? It's not a boat, it's a ship. Are you the driver of the boat? It's not a boat, it's a ship, and I'm the captain. So you're the driver of the boat, then? It's like, no, I am the captain of the ship. The driver of the boat, which this is not, would be the helmsman. And he is the helmsman of the ship. Oh, so he's the driver of the boat? Not a fan of this. Yeah, en route to hopefully meet Beard, Sultan's suitcase was about the only time I considered surrendering my task to enemies. Oops, got mugged. Sorry, King Bandit. Yeah. Trust me, I understand. Oh my god! I had to keep moving forward on that. That was spicy. By the way, we're absolutely going to have to go look for the anomaly. Or, the artifact. Because you know for a fact there's an artifact in here. Which should be a really good one, actually. Yeah, there's no way. This is such a big anomaly field. Oh, it's locked! No! Alright, well, let's look for the anomaly. Or let's look for the artifact. Now let's look for the anomaly. The anomaly is everywhere. Ooh, hell yeah. Oh, ow! So not that way, it's gotta be that way then. Not this way, that way. Where are you, son of a bitch? Ah, fuck! My butt! My butt got zapped. You know, all the frames look good. All the frames look good. OBS is reading 60/60. That's good. Maybe it's inside the building. Let's go around and unlock the door first. Don't fall into that, please. Ah, fuck! Turn on a generator. What'd that generator do for us? I need to go see where that line went. Ah, fuck! Oh, it's inside the building. Okay, let's head this way. Bad vibes inside this building. Bad vibes. Figure out there's a key combination here somewhere. Okay, so I need to figure out how to get in that side of the building. Yeah, seriously. Alien Covenant was terrible. I don't know, that's not like a shock or revelation to, you know, most of us, but yeah, it was bad. Okay, so how do we get in how do we get in the tops, this floor over here? How's my gear doing too? 95. Yeah, the little shocks hurt. Okay. Little shocks was not pleasant. I heard a boop. Where is it? We're right next to it. It came over here and I heard it whoop and run away. Yeah, see, all those windows are boarded up. Maybe there's a way for me to shoot. Maybe I need to drop down and try to shoot something to unlock the door. You know what I mean? Because, yeah, I don't remember exactly what we got to do. For this. Like, if I drop down and walk over here, will I see anything? Can I walk across this? Ugh! Not well. I can see through those windows, though. I wish I could remember. I wish I could remember what we need to do. Again, I have the generator on. I want what he's got. He had some crazy gun on him. Again, AK is not super accurate at range, but, you know, we're giving it a shot. What the fuck? Random ass boar. Oh, alright, it's out of render range. Fucking wild boar out of nowhere. Oh, he had a shotgun. Yeah, he had the cracker on him. Damn, you never realize how big that gun is. Days fighting. All right. Back to what I was doing. Oh, hey, another boar. Oh, hey, a lot of boar. Fuck it. Give me that. Sweet. Boar fang. Sweet. I'd like to thank the Academy. I'd like to thank the Academy and everyone involved. I said, I don't understand. I feel like if I drop down, there might be like a latch or something I can shoot, because I don't understand how to get inside the building, you know? Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Stop running away from me, motherfucker! Ha ha! Mine! Yeah! The soul! Okay, cool. One part done. Next part. Getting inside this stupid... You think your radiation scares me? Bitch, I'm in a Siva suit. Okay. Alright, chat. How do fuck we get inside? How do fuck? I'm looking up how we get inside. The background radiation pulls a knife. Oh no! Okay, well, it just told me the code outright, but I want to know how to get inside the building. Wait, there's a way to unlock the door. Talk to somebody through the window? What? No, this is the one in garbage. This building is the one in garbage. They said talk to somebody through the window. What do you mean? What do you mean through the window? We need that. That gives us the code, right? Yeah, no. This is to get this side. We need the other side of the building, though. I need the other side of the building. This is fine. But it says there's somebody we can talk to through the window? And that's the bit I'm confused about. Yeah, there's another side to it. This is the whole other side of the building. That's why that's a locked door. Oh, the ward's here. Yeah, see that locked door right there. See, you talk to somebody through the window. It's like, what? What guy? Ooh. 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 I have the thing. Is there a guy at a different window to talk to? God, look how thick the fog is. Holy shit. Hello? Oh, the window. I have to talk to somebody from here. No, it's got a lock marker on it. They don't do lock markers on doors you can't eventually unlock. Like they would just do this, right? Where there's nothing. Inaccessible, right? But no, that door over there has an actual like lock on it. That's why I'm confused. That's why I'm confused. Showing where you can find a hint of the first safe. There's a generator. It has cables connected to it, leading to a locked room on the second floor. There's also metal stairs leading there. The entrance is locked. When in front of the generator, you can look right and find a part of the railing that's broken. From there, I fell down onto some tube next to the wall and the second room with another safe with a code lock and also a laptop on the table nearby. It's only possible to get inside normally, but you can interact with the laptop to download some info. If you do it, you get teleported inside, but then there's no way to get out. Does anyone know what the room is for? Something that was not clear for me from the previous post is that the door to the second floor office can actually be opened even after you started the engine on the roof and cleared out the first safe. Use the latest patch, just climb up to the roof again and stop and then restart the engine. This should unlock the door to the office below. Let's activate the keypad on the second safe. Okay. I'm still locked. Hang on a second. Yeah, I want to see. Let's see. They said drop down. I want to see if I can interact with the thing. I'm not going to save when I'm inside the room because that could be very bad. Very bad news. That could be not good. Very bad. Ugh. I see. I see. Guess I'll just have to come back here for whatever side quest is here, right? Because there's the laptop. Alright. Let's go to his thing, put vodka in. Drink some wagwa. Lovely. Lovely. We've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Doo, doo, doo. All right. Oh my God, I left my stuff in the air fryer. I'll be right back. I was too focused. I'll be right back. Oh, yeah, you found a boss fight, did you? Enjoyed the Psy Elk. It's gonna kick your ass if you're not careful. They are vicious. They are vicious little fucks. Don't scare me, you goober. Oh my god, that is some tempting loot. Holy shit, that's tempting loot. Look at that. Look at that. God, that is so fucking tempting. That's evil. That's mean-spirited. Remember, don't take anything from his stash. You're lucky. You're fucking lucky that I am a more upstanding stalker. Should count as blessings, right? Should count as fucking blessings. Oh my god, that's a... What the fuck? What the f... How big is that rad zone? It's a good thing I fucking saved. Holy shit. That rad zone is huge. I was trying to get out of the rads. Find the super hyper extra lethal radiation zone. Jesus. Go around it. I'm going around it. Funny seeing so many people with night vision goggles and everything around, because that all got added in 2.0 here. Mm-hmm. In my suit designed to deal with radiation, by the way. Oh, I wonder here. Yeah. You can see a little bit better that way. Fucking rats. Caught me while I was chewing my food. Alright, that's not as tempting. Yeah, that detector. God, that detector was super fucking, like, calling to me. No. No, that's not okay. Alright, there's a psi thing over there. So we're taking a little bit of a detour to stay away from it. There's fucking grasshoppers everywhere. Are you down in this canyon? Oh! Well, I'm definitely going to search for an anomaly, or sorry, an artifact in there. Anomaly.
Гей, сталкере, а що ти тут робиш?
Міша та Гріша попросили тобі по схронах розкидати. Як захист від радіації.
А, от звідки. Я ж їм гроші на антирад відправляв. а не на бухло.
Oh,
А
fuck.
що, горілка не лікує від опромінення?
Лікує, якщо її пити. А я вже місяць ні краплі до рота не беру. Я ж через цю горілку далі смітника нічого в житті не бачив. Як з тигерством зав'язав, хотів усю зону обійти. І зараз цього хочу, щоб
real
справжнім
stalker, you know?
сталкером бути. Розумієш?
Wow.
Зірвуся, так і лишуся посеред сміття бухати. Чи з пару ковтків не зірвуся? Слухай, а антирак
He's
у
an
тебе не
alcoholic.
знайдеться?
Unfortunate. Yeah, here you go, dude.
От, дякую. Лови винагороду. Краще б я одразу тобі заплатив.
Trusting those two
але
bozos.
всім добрим. Годі з мене. Сьогодні ж йду. До дуги махну. А може, навіть і в Прип'ять. Хай Міша з Грішею собі іншого почерківця шукають. Бувай здоровий.
Yeah.
Зараз докурю і почапаю.
Man, I respect that. He's like, I'm trying to, you know, do something more here. Those dingle dorks are like, just drink more vodka, stay here with us. Damn. Ooh! Dick. I heard you. Where are you? I heard you. I keep hearing it going swoop and jumping around. This is why that other detector was so appealing, by the way. Because you could point it and it would tell you the direction. You mother... Oh. Dude, this thing is so fucking jump happy. It's ridiculous. Do you hear it? Keep jumping? Oh my god. Trying to get back to wherever it jumped to now. Ah, there you are. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? You're right. I saw you jump this way. Dude. Fucking kidding me. Oh. Just a little dickhead, aren't you? Gimme. You fuck. What a prick. What a little prick. Oh my god. We got a super one. Holy shit, we got a super one. A legendary artifact. dude. Chemical protection, increased durability, radiation dispersion. Oh my god. That's crazy. It also means now I can use radiation, a radiation artifact because of this puppy. No wonder you're such a hoppy little bitch. He was like, he's just gonna, the artifact's looking at me sitting in my belt right now. I'm just like, I know what I'm worth. I know what I'm worth, bitch. I know what I'm fucking worth. I'll make you work for it. Only a true legend can hold me. Oh, wait, is this his? Yeah, journalist Ash. Okay, this is where we usually get jumped by like a fuck ton of people. For whatever reason, this was like a hot spot for people to like claim. If I remember right, he has a suit in here for you, which is just fucking wild. Yeah, there it is. The tourist suit. Again, a really, really nice fucking suit. Max weight, increase, stamina regen system on it too. Phew. The last time I did this. What? The fuck? Yeah, the last time I did this, like 30 fucking guys showed up. And it just turned into a fucking brawl. They were everywhere. I'm so morbidly curious about that light. Get out of here, stalker. Chasing lights, are you, stalker? You really shouldn't. Supplies, Stalker. The light is evil. Oh! Fuck! I need to get a suit that has more spots! I need a suit that has more spots! Well, you know what? I'm glad I went and investigated the light. Free whirlwind. Now prepare to free the whirlwind. Can't wait until we find more legendary ones. Like, I can't believe we found this legendary one. It's fucking crazy. I could put on a super spicy now with without worry because of the radiation dispersion on it. Blinded by the light. Maybe the whole zone are homosexuals. Well, judging by the dispersion of women in the zone, I'm going to say probably. Probably. Well, this is where one of his stashes was? Right? Yeah, right here, right? It's still here? No, because now the quest is over. Man. Can't tell you how badly I wanted that detector, though. Getting a detector that tells you the direction? Oh, the best ones are when you get the detectors that actually are like a radar map. They show you exactly where the anomalies are. They show you exactly where the artifact is. And you can actually, like, watch it as it goes, bloop, bloop, bloop. Like, jumps around like it's fucking dancing. Bloop. 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 I've gotten real tired of the anomalies. Huh? I mean, everybody has to deal with them. Yeah, but it's because the artifacts like to dance in them. That's what drives me nuts. And they taunt me. I can hear that stupid bloop in my dreams.
Терекону тепер важко доведеться. Пахани не зрозуміють, якщо тут ніхто з ними
Okay.
перетягне не зможе.
again, this wasn't the intended stream for the day. We had our Writing Wednesday. I am now just happily. It's worth 20,000. I should probably sell it. I'm gonna sell the suit as well because the suit's good. Suit's good, but yeah. The radiation protection is absolutely crazy. How many? It has 3 artifact slots at once. Oh, that's crazy good. Crazy fucking good. What masks you got? It'll hurt, but I'm thinking about the bigger picture here. Rosin in. Or no, put you in first, yeah. And then you. There we go. All of them together. My radiation protection is fucking... Dispersion is wild in this. And then give me this mask. It hurts, but I think this is worth it. For way better physical protection. Like, yeah, I lose sight protection, I lose radiation, chemical, and all the stuff like that, but it's 3 slots immediately, and we'll get some of the protection back with this. Not all. I think this is just the best way to go about it.
Повертайся з...
Yeah. Okay, cool. Alright. Alright, chat. There you go then. Yeah, like I said, this wasn't the one we had planned today. Tomorrow, obviously, we're not starting at the same time. Tomorrow is going to be a special one because we're going to watch the FPS Games show. Yeah. I'm looking into it. War Dogs said they're going to, or Bulkhead said they're going to have an announcement for War Dogs. So, look forward to that as well. Oh. Stretchy, stretchy, stretchy. And yeah, so I'll post it. We're probably gonna start like a half hour early compared to when the show is gonna start, so we get all kind of around and ready and stuff like that. And we see what they got for us. I already got the stream set up so we can watch it. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to it. Meantime, though, chat, well, you guys take care. Have a fantastic day. Stay safe and healthy. Get fit, get ripped, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Yeah, and like I said, the new tracker, way better. Way better than the old one. I can do my eyebrows. Yeah. Anyways. Bye for now, everyone.